Did you know that teens battle with depression? I think we are at all-time highs as a nation. And I wonder what all the contributing factors are into it. I can think of several. But I do know this. I obviously was a depressed teen, but I also grew up in a home that had violence, and I was being molested like every week. My dad coming into my room, my stepfather coming into my room. My mom was paralyzed. There was constant fighting and tons of abuse, emotional, mental, and physical abuse. So, I really had a reason to be depressed. But we have millions and millions of teens suffering from anxiety and depression, which I don't know. Why? So we asked this question of our audience. Do you have a child who is suffering from anxiety and depression? What's it like? What solutions have you found? So joining me right now is Jessica from Florida. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks.
So when did you discover that your son was depressed?
When he was actually 6 was the first time I ever really confronted or saw this in my son.
What did you see?
My son had kind of an angry bout. It seemed like we were fooling with that throughout the week, and one day he just stormed off into his room, and I thought, I should follow him to his room. This is unlike him. Doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So I gave him a little space, walked into the room, and sadly, I found my 6-year-old with a plastic knife in his closet. And it was I was shocked, completely shocked, because we had censored our children in television and different things like that. I myself grew up in a Christian home, a very wonderful Christian home. And so when I saw my son, who just watched Thomas the Tank Engine, and that's like all he's ever watched at 5 and 6, I was floored. Where did he see this? How did he learn this? What is happening to my precious son? It was shocking, very shocking.
How did you feel as a mom?
Just devastated, that my little boy would want to end his life. So instantly I just say to him, son, what are you doing? As calmly as possible, even though internally I'm screaming. And he goes, Mom, I don't know. And at that moment, I just took the knife. It was plastic, mind you, but I took the knife and I just walked out of the room and just was breathing and praying. And Lord, what's happening? Or, just praying over my family.
Wow.
Yes, it was quite scary.
So when you say that it was devastating, what were the thoughts that were going through your head?
He's a child who's 6 years old. He's supposed to be happy. He's supposed to have no worries in life. What can a 6-year-old be worrying about at 6? It was just a shock. Something in my past that we had never dealt with or really confronted as a family. Mm-hmm. So it was just a foreign thing, to see that, and then it's right there in my very own home.
Yeah.
So
did you feel like responsible for this?
Yeah, absolutely.
How?
How could a parent not to see their child in general that suffers, just take on that responsibility and say no, that shouldn't be you, that should be me. Mm-hmm. No matter what the subject. Mm-hmm. And so instantly it was just like, why? No. What did I do wrong? What could be happening right now? Yes. So it was very, very sad. And now my son, he's not quite 13 yet. And so in recent years we had a big move, and we've disconnected from all that we knew as family up north and moved down south. And so there was a big change, and I had homeschooled, and he was having a lot of very big emotional waves because we all were, a new area, new everything. Mm-hmm. And he had very high, very low moments. Mm-hmm. And it just, again, one of those moments where I'm like, I need to pay attention to this. Something's up. Because I myself was having emotional ups and downs. And I was like, that's kind of like me. I'm really having a hard time. I need to pay attention to how he's behaving. So I started paying more attention to how he was behaving. And I'm like, hey, what's going on with you one day? And he's like, Mom, I know you love me. He goes, but I just want to jump out that window at night. And I was like, what? How can this be? How can this be? And I says, well, honey, I'm so glad you know that I love you. And of course, I would never want you to do that. And I just stopped everything I was doing. I was working in the kitchen, doing dishes, everything a mother does. I said, I have to stop. I have to stop and pay attention to my oldest son. I need to see what his needs are to take that emotional time for my son. Yeah. So we sat down in the living room, and I said, listen, what's going on? Yeah. Talk to me. It's okay to talk to me, and let him see that he shouldn't be scared to talk to me about this, because this is huge, life and death.
It is.
So so we sat there, and I says, talk to me. I'm not gonna say a thing. Just talk. And he's just like, I don't know why. My brain tells me just to jump through that window. And it was a second story. It was where his bedroom was in this new house we were in. And I said, thank you so much for not jumping out that window. And I talked to him. I said, I just want you to know that since we've moved, I myself, because I didn't want him to feel alone. I felt like he felt isolated, alone. He was scared. That's why maybe he's kept being angry. Yeah. And so it all kind of just came to me. I thought, how have I been when I felt that way?
Yeah.
So I says, son, listen to me. I says, you are not alone. Mm-hmm. I have dealt with this.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that you are not normal or that, this is wrong of you. I was like, because the devil puts these thoughts in our heads. And I was like, Mom and Daddy love you, and we do not want to see you do such a thing or hurt yourself or even, die, of course.
Yeah.
I was like, but you need to know that Daddy's had these thoughts, I've had these thoughts, and we get so, like, if you heard me hollering for you to come downstairs and you know that I'm upset with you, I was like, I don't want you to keep that in and you hold that against me and you be angry towards me and think that I'm angry towards you because I'm hollering for you to come downstairs. I was like, we need to talk more. We need to communicate better with each other. And if you think that I'm upset, don't stew on it for 2-3 days, because how you think is going to affect how you view me and how you think that I'm coming across, when I could work on how I could talk to you, but I don't know in your head that you think I'm upset with you because maybe you didn't do a chore or do something that you were told to do. Because I was just trying to think what has happened in the last 3 days that would cause him to build this motion, because I know in the past I've kept my thoughts in on circumstances around me, and it blows out of proportion because it's all in my head, make believe.
Yes, it's true. That's when our imagination, our vain imaginations, to completely take over and build a huge law of that is not true, right? But it's our personal truth. Okay, so this 13-year-old is the same one that was the 6-year-old with the knife in his closet. Okay.
Yeah.
My gosh, man, like that is a struggle. By the way, I went through the same thing with 2 of my sons, so I understand. I know exactly where you're at with that. And the first time I tried to commit suicide, I was 6 years old. Yeah. So I battled with depression into my 30s. I was 31, I think, when I finally got delivered from that beast that was on my back. It's a difficult thing. So you said that you found some solutions. First of all, what we were saying, thank you so much for having the courage to share this, and your humility is amazing. But you're so right. Communication. When we get busy, especially in a move, right? And then you're working through your own stuff. You're away from your family, right? You're in a new place, and you got to find where the new grocery store is and where all the services are that you need, and find out who the plumber's going to be. You know what I mean? You have all of these have-tos, not to mention moving a household, unpacking the household. It's a different house. Gosh, where's my old closet? Man, I wish I had this drawer that I used to have. All that stuff that goes through, and it's just frustration that continues to build, and it builds and builds and builds. And then we forget that, hold on a second, our kids are going through the same exact thing. And so when we moved from California to Texas, which was like a total culture shock, it was an absolute culture shock for us, from the beautiful mountains with 40-foot trees and 40 minutes from a ski lodge, and surrounded by 6 lakes, and dirt biking, several times a week on all government-owned land. And then we moved to Texas, and there is no thing called government land. So we're talking huge lifestyle changes when we moved to Texas. And so I definitely positioned myself to sit down and have a lot of conversations. A lot of conversations and even when we moved, we didn't make that move decision on our own. We actually talked about it as a family for over a year. and let the kids make the decision so they could own that decision. We didn't lead them to make the decision. We just had family open discussions. And then it was like, hey, we are asking God, and we believe he's going to speak through you. And so this will be a family thing. If there's any one of us that's not for it, we're not doing it. And so long and the short of it is that I had tons of conversations with them and spent hours upon hours upon hours sitting on the foot of their bed or finding a time for us to just debrief, really, is what it was. Like, how are you feeling? What are you liking? What are you not liking? What would you like to see different? And you know, where do you see that I am falling short? I want to always be my best for you. And that created a lot of good bonds there. And even in those discussions is when I found out that one of my sons had been cutting himself. And it was like the feelings you go through, you know, of like, I'm a failure as a parent. I'm totally screwing up. Like, and the reality is that kids walk through this stuff. And I love what you said, that you really controlled the kind of entertainment that went into your kid's head. Where could he ever see this, right? He's 6 years old.
Right. But
the reality is, and like for me, I mean, I was 6 years old and I'm trying to slice my wrist while I'm doing dishes. I was allowed to do the silverware, and I have a steak knife in my hand, and I'm making away at my wrist. You know, where did I ever see this? Where did I ever discover to do something like this? And so the bottom line is, and Jessica, I am like, I know it's a torture. It's the kind of worry, the anxiety that we gain as a direct result of walking through this. But this is called parenting. And because no one ever talks about it. Like,
they don't.
Oh. And why? Because of shame.
Shocking.
It's shameful, right? It's shameful to say my son doesn't feel good about himself. My son is struggling with his sexuality. My sons are addicted to pornography, and I speak against it, and we have protected them from it, and yet it has still found them, and they have found it, right? So, shame. And shame is what keeps everything in darkness. Shame is actually what keeps us stuck. Shame is that thing that beats us up night and day. And out of that shame comes pride. But humility is the key to it. And even humbling yourself, and I love what you did, Jessica, that you humbled yourself before your son and said, I struggle with this too. This move has been difficult. I want you to know that you're not alone. But I think what's also important is to ask for forgiveness, that when we have like hollered in the wrong way, or we've been a little too occupied with unpacking boxes and finding the plumber and all this kind of stuff, that we just say, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, man. I have just had a task list and I've been stupid with it. You're more important than my task list. So the thing I'm going to say is this, is just be prepared in your own heart to remember that you once were this young age, and you might not remember the thoughts that used to flow through your head. There are thoughts that float through your head, sometimes really hateful thoughts, sometimes sexual thoughts, sometimes angry, jealous, harm, malice, and maybe you were embarrassed to bring these up to your parents. So be prepared. But the most important thing you could do, that I see that Jessica did, is create the safe place for open conversation. And I love what she did in the beginning. Like, listen, you talk, I'm just going to listen. I'm going to be quiet. And just, bam. And it shows that that family has trust because he said it. He told her what was in his heart, or was in his mind, what he was hearing. And she's equipped her son how to fight against those thoughts. Because thoughts travel through our head. The key is to let the ones that we do not want to turn into a belief travel right on by. Travel right on by. Travel right on by. Don't accept these particular thoughts. Don't receive them as your own personal truth. And confessing to them that, man, I've spent too much of my time of taking one thought, captivating it, holding on to it, planting seeds with it, building an entire encyclopedia of how this thought is true, which really was just a vain imagination. None of it was true. And I was deceived because I gave myself over to those kinds of thoughts. So confess your failures, your shortcomings. It creates trust. It creates a safe place. Now you become the person that they're going to come to, that even before you see the fruit going on in their lives. Because, friend, the numbers are crazy. Listen to this. According to Anxiety and Depression Association of America, 80% of kids with anxiety disorder and 60% of kids with diagnosable depression are not getting treatment. Nearly half of the teens will struggle with, nearly half will struggle with mental health disorder during their teen years. It's a major flood of hormones going through their body. You talk about such a jacked up culture that is so confused, so divisive. And then we have parents who are stressed out, not having fun, in debt beyond where they should be, living way above their means, valuing things that don't matter and discarding the things that do. The pressure is the highest I think it's ever been. So you couple that with hormones, what do we have? We have a disaster. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America reports that often parents think their child is going through a phase or think their child is just shy or experiencing mood swings. It is so important for you not to have the mindset that so many parents have, which is, oh, that's just teens. Those are just teens. And they just bark at them. Come out of your room. Get off your phone. Well, who was the fool who put the phone in their hand? And who was the fool that drove them in their room? Think about it. Are you fun to be around? Do you even have a relationship? Do you know what's going on inside of them? Do you care to even ask or listen? Have you created that safe environment? Have you built the bridge instead of building walls? Walls for them to stay stuck in? So rather than having the mindset that so many parents have of like, well, it's just, that's just a teenager. That's just the way it is. No, it's not. You don't have to leave it like that. This is actually your perfect opportunity to rise up and shine as a parent, to rise up and have a relationship with that teen that you wished you had with your parents, to step up your game of communication and make a difference before it's too late. This is Dani Johnson. Thanks so much for being with us today. I hope and pray that you share this video because people need to hear Jessica's story. They need to hear it. How do you share it? If you go to DaniJohnson.com, you're going to see today's program right on our website. So you can grab the link and share it because you can help to, prevent some horrible disasters just by simply sharing this through social media, through email, or through text. So go over to DaniJohnson.com, get a copy of the link, and share this out. And let's help, as a community, these kids come out of depression, help these parents to step up their game, and also those parents to not walk in guilt and shame. Let's bring it out into the open, and let's do it confidently and build a relationship during the most important years of your kids' lives. Thanks so much for joining us today. God bless.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.